Oh, thanks, Renee. This is exciting. Yeah, I don't know exactly how long our facility's been open. We were one of the last facilities to open for safety reasons. But our support staff's done a phenomenal job of creating an environment that is clean and safe and, maximize in terms of guys being able to get in and out, get their work in. And so, with today being the first day of mandatory workouts, it's now official. This is certainly a new situation. Never before have we gone through something like this in the NBA. So, some people might look at it with trepidation. I look at it with excitement. This is really an amazing opportunity for us. And the tone in our gym, I've been in for the last week. I was allowed to come in starting last Wednesday. So this will be my 8th day of being able to be in the gym. Very positive, real great energy. Guys have worked extremely hard. And once again, Cauley-Smith, Dion Calhoun, Heather Mao, Jeremy Holsopple, and their staff really done a tremendous job of creating an environment that has been not only safe and positive, but one where our players have been able to get a lot of work done. So we're excited, and our players are excited, and so I guess we'll take some questions.
Okay, great. Our first question is going to come from Tim Cato. Tim, I'm asking you to unmute now.
Hey, Rick. How are you? I'm sure you missed us very much.
Yeah, I've been trying to find you on the screen here. There are like 4 pages of people on this thing.
43, but I'm here somewhere waving at you. Yeah, so I just want to ask a general question. Can you talk about the obvious challenges that this break presented itself, and how the best ways that you are working to overcome, both the layoff and then just the general weirdness of the situation for a team that has 8 games and then the postseason following that?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of fluidity with what we're in terms of, between now and, a week from now when we leave. It's totally new territory. I mean, there are questions each day that are asked that, people have thought of that aren't in the 113-page memorandum, but the league has remained very flexible and maintained I guess what you'd call a kind of a fluid approach as well. Right now, we're in the mid stages of our players ramping up. The challenges are that these workouts are one-on-one workouts, and essentially up until today they've been voluntary, but our participation has been tremendous. Top to bottom, we've had great participation with guys that are in town, and we've been able to get everybody back in town, which is great. And so look, we're testing every other day. We'll get on the plane in a week. We'll go down to a situation that no one's ever been in before. But again, I view it as a very positive thing, a very exciting opportunity. And we'll approach it that way. This afternoon, we have a mandatory Zoom call with the league, with all of our players and our staff. I don't know how long the call is, but this is going to be, a run through of, everything that's going on down there, procedures, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's important to point out that, once again, these workouts to this point, and even now, are one-on-one workouts. They're individual workouts. And, we do not begin team practice probably until the 10th or the 11th. Once we get down there, quarantine for a couple days, and clear testing. So at that point, I think we'll have 18 or 19 days between when we start and when the first game is. My understanding is that there's 2 or 3 scrimmages with other teams in there. There will obviously be a couple of, 2 or 3 days off during that stretch. And then on the 30th, we'll toss it up and play the Rockets. So, exciting times.
Awesome. Thanks, Rick. Okay, the next question will come from Mark Followell. Mark, I'm asking you to unmute now.
All right. Hey, Rick, can you hear me?
Again.
Hi. Nice to see and speak with you.
Likewise.
You have used the word opportunities a couple of times, and I feel like in listening to your press conferences over the years, one thing you've always stressed to us is that you don't like players to use words like obstacles and hurdles and things like that. So just curious if you could share with us some of your own mindset and your messaging to the players on how you balance viewing this situation with the humility and respect that you said you need to view it with when you spoke to Coop on the radio last week. How do you balance that part of the mindset with also looking at this as the opportunity that you've discussed and looking at it with enthusiasm, despite going into a situation that's so unprecedented?
Yeah. I think this is the kind of thing, you can look at it, you can look at all the variables, all the procedural things, all the detail aspects of it, and look at it as a very daunting type of thing. Or you can look at it as just, really a one of a kind, hopefully once in a lifetime opportunity to go into a completely unique environment with a completely unique kind of opportunity. We're up against it in some ways because, 2 or 3 of our guys that have been really good players for us are going to be unavailable. Powell, who is, I believe 5 months yesterday or 2 days ago, 5 months off of his surgery for the Achilles. He's back on the floor doing light shooting. He's doing light agility work. He's doing jogging on the treadmill, and he's a guy that whose enthusiasm is going to be unwavering no matter what. It's important that he's down there with us, which he will be. Same thing with Jalen Brunson. And Brunson, I know now is, I think, just over 3 months beyond his shoulder surgery, doing extremely well, back on the floor, doing individual workouts, doing pretty much everything. But his strength and flexibility of the shoulder still has a couple of more months before he's 100%. So neither one of those guys will play. Courtney Lee, as all of you have been made aware, will be unable to join us on the floor, but he will be down there in Orlando with us. And so, there's 3 guys that we will not have available. And Willie Cauley-Stein has opted out due to, a family thing. So we understand that. And we really appreciate the fact that he talked to us early about it. It opened up the opportunity for us to sign Trey Burke, who was with us last year, came to us in the New York trade. Played very well for us, and impressed a lot of people here with his approach, how he could score the ball, how he improved defensively, and so we're looking forward to having him back. And with Dwight out and Willie being unavailable, we're going to be a little small, and so we're going to have to adjust that way. But we don't mind. We don't mind adjustments and challenges. It's, my 12 years here so far, a lot of it's been about, trying to take adversities and turn them into positives. So we're looking forward to it.
Great, thank you. Our next question comes from Mac Engel. Mac, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Hey, Mac, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you anticipating, Rick, not having a crowd watching these games affect the overall quality of play and intensity?
Wow, what a great question. I don't think it's going to affect the intensity. This 8-game set is such a short period of time. Really, it's going to happen over 2 weeks. All the teams involved are playing for something every single game. We've just come off of a 3-month layoff where there's just been great anticipation about getting back on the floor. So, look, the quality of play in terms of the shot making and those kinds of things, that may be a little challenging at the beginning. There's some people that have compared this kind of thing to coming off of a lockout, like we did in '99 and like we did in 2011. The difference is there's a real long ramp-up period with these individual workouts in all the markets. And our training camp time in Orlando is going to be significantly longer than both training camp periods in '99 and 2011. So I think the quality of play is going to be very good from the beginning. But look, we're getting into an environment. This is that no one has experienced before. And I don't even think there's ever been in the history of the league an NBA scrimmage between 2 NBA teams. It just hasn't happened. I mean, coming off lockouts, we've had a thing where you play, an exhibition game against somebody that's geographically close to you. Like I remember in '99, I think it was, we played, 2 games against Chicago in a 3-day period, and then tossed it up and started the season. And during that run in '99, there were I think 2 sets of 3 games in a row. We don't have that here. We've got 1 back-to-back. And there's no travel involved, So in our case, we're playing at 2:00 one day and 5:00 the next. So you're actually getting a little bit of extra time, and you're not having the volatility of travel. As to how the environment's going to be without fans, my understanding is there is going to be sound. There's going to be lights and things like that. I'm curious. I'm looking ahead with great anticipation to see, exactly how this thing is gonna play out. One other thing that I want to mention, and this is very important to us with the Coaches Association, on May 30th, we decided to create an initiative to educate and take on the long fight against racial injustice. And our initiative is called NBA Coaches for Racial Justice. And this platform in Orlando is going to be a great opportunity for us to talk about the history of racial injustice. We plan to revisit it on a daily basis. I know that Black Lives Matter is going to be on the courts that we play on, which is great. And this is a great opportunity to keep this conversation going about a problem that's been going on for over 400 years. I'm proud that in our market we've partnered with a group called Mothers Against Police Brutality here, and we're going to be working locally with them. We've had myself, Jamal Mosley, and Stephen Silas on my staff, along with Dwight Powell and Colette Flanagan from Others Against Police Brutality, have met so far with Mayor Johnson. We've met with the city manager, T.C. Broadnax, and we've also met with Police Chief Renee Hall and had great conversations about things policy-wise that we can all work toward to make our city safer. So this is a long-term initiative that we're getting into. We have the stomach for it. There's a high level of motivation. And so, we're looking forward to Orlando being a real jumping off point for us. You
Great.
can unmute, Renee. Thank you.
Here I am. I unmuted Tim McMahon before myself, so the next question is coming from Tim McMahon. Tim, go ahead.
Thank goodness.
I know you've been looking forward to this.
I have.
As the president of the Coaches Association, what's the latest that you've heard regarding the NBA potentially trying to limit coaches that are older?
Well, our conversations with the league have been ongoing, and everybody goes through a screening process. But we've been assured by the league that no one will be red flagged from going to Orlando based on age alone. And so that was a positive, very positive thing for us to hear. But as I said, everybody in all 22 markets, all staff, all players, everybody goes through a significant screening process, and we'll see who ends up going, not going, et cetera. But we were very encouraged to hear that age alone would not be something that would keep you from going to Orlando.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Our next question is from Keith Russell, and I just want to say, everybody, that we've got quite a long queue, and we may not get to everybody's questions, so I'm putting it out there now that we'll do our best, but Rick will be available another day before we leave for Orlando. So Keith, go ahead. Thank you.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Coach, a big topic of debate has been, how do you prepare mentally your players for knowing that they could, for at least a month, be restricted from having in-person contact with their loved ones, with their wives, their children, their girlfriends, their significant others? And how would you have dealt with that back in your days as a player?
Well, it's a very important question. And this is one of the really unique and biggest challenges with this scenario. Some of our players are married with kids. Some of them are single and aren't married. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. I think one of the positive things about this is that for 3 months, everybody has been with their family in a way that is very unusual given this time of the calendar year. I mean, when you're talking about the 12th of March through, the beginning part of May and into June, most teams are playing a lot of games between those two periods, those 2 points in time. And so, the good thing is we've had the opportunity to spend a lot of quality time with our families. And this is going to be difficult. There's no question about it. If this was happening 15 years ago, before, Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, Duo, all those mediums that are now available really at the touch of a button, it would have been far, far, far more challenging. So technology plays a part in helping mitigate this. But it's an important question. No one views it lightly.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, Brad Townsend, I'm unmuting you now. Thank you.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this. If you don't mind, a quick question and a follow-up. Besides the injured guys that you mentioned, is everybody able to go right now?
That's the plan, yeah. The 3 injured guys, and Trey Burke has not officially joined us yet, but we expect to get him signed sooner than later. I don't know the exact timetable. There was one scenario where I think we could have maybe done it today, but it's not happening today. So hopefully in the next day or so. And then, yeah, the hope is to have everyone else available. And we're going to have to be resourceful with our personnel. You know, without Willie and without Dwight, we're going to have to play smaller at times and be a bit inventive. Brad, you got to unmute, or Renee, you got to unmute him. He's got to follow up.
If you could set somewhat of a scene about how the gym looked today, because if I'm not mistaken, you're allowed to have up to 8 players now in the gym at a time. So does that mean it will all strictly be one-on-one work at individual baskets up until you leave, or could there be any 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 work?
No 2-on-2, no 3-on-3, and I don't believe we're even going to do 1-on-1 in terms of competitive. These are individual workouts, and I think starting today, we can have more than one player at a basket. So, you know, just now I saw Tim and KP doing some shooting drills together at one basket. Up until today, they were not allowed to do that. Look, things are ramping up very gradually, which is the right way to approach this. You know, I've been in the gym. First time I got back in the gym was last Tuesday, so it was a week ago yesterday, and that was for testing. That was a day where there were no workouts. And so it's, you know, so I've been tested 5 times in a week. Today was another test. So the testing has been every other day. But the gym looks the same. The difference is that, you know, we have music playing in there virtually all the time. You know, during the regular season, we don't play music when the media is in there. It's not that we don't like you guys, or, you know, I don't want to see McMahon breaking out in a dance or, you know, something like that. I'm not sure how anybody would react to that. But we like keeping energy in the gym. And again, I give a great amount of credit to our staff and support staff, you know, starting with Casey Smith, Dion, Calhoun, Jeremy Holsopple, Heather Mao, and we've got 6 assistant coaches that have been cleared to be in the gym up until today. And then there's a few more people that are cleared in as of today, as they've been, you know, negative with their testing. So, you know, each day there's a little more excitement builds, you know, as I see and feel what's going on in there. And once again, it's an exciting time.
Great, thank you. Our next question is coming from Skylar from the AP.
Hi, Rick. Good to see you, and thanks for doing this. You mentioned the initiative on racial injustice. What's your feeling about individual expression during the national anthem, and how is this conversation different than it was when this issue flared up a few years ago?
Well, first of all, we support our players 100% in terms of their ability to express themselves individually or as a group if they wish. You know, when this issue came up a few years ago, Mark and I had the same response. It was 100% support. You know, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like in Orlando. There could be different forms of expression. But, you know, our country is a free country. And, you know, we believe that most important thing is to be 100% supportive of our players' right to express themselves the way that they wish. And what's different about now, you know, on May 30th, you know, we had a couple of 2 or 3 head coaches that got together. They got a hold of myself and David Fogel, our executive director of the Coaches Association. we felt that there was a real need to get all of the head coaches together. This is in the wake of George Floyd's killing, and within 6 hours, we got together a Zoom call of all 30 head coaches. Lloyd Pierce was a guy that was very outspoken about how he felt about things that were happening. Everyone on the call was angry and anxious to take action. We just felt as a group at that point in time that our platform as head coaches needed to be put to use. And so we formed a committee on racial injustice and reform. That committee was led by Lloyd Pierce and had 8 other members, including some of our most outspoken coaches on racial injustice: Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, Stan Van Gundy, even though he's not actively coaching right now, and many others. And that committee has come up with a plan for our entire Coaches Association, which is this: we formed the name of our initiative is NBA Coaches for Racial Justice. And our platform, our national platform, is that we're going to be under the umbrella of the Obama Foundation, and also the Equal Justice Initiative led by Brian Stevenson. And Brian has joined us as a consultant. If you're not familiar with his work in Montgomery, Alabama, with the Equal Justice Initiative, you need to check him out. He has done an amazing amount of work over decades. And he's one of the foremost civil rights lawyers that we have in this country. And so we're very proud to have him on board. We plan to do some town halls on TV with Brian and some of our other head coaches, hopefully with NBA TV or TNT or ESPN. We have got to keep this conversation going. It's more important than ever. And so, in Orlando, and one of the things that is most important, and we got this from Brian in our conversations with him, is that as coaches, we're teachers, and when you teach, you educate, and we've got to educate our players on the history of racial injustice, all the things that have gone on for centuries, and we've also got to educate the people that watch the NBA game, and we've got to take this on with a great level of humility. And this is a daunting task. It is a daunting task. There's no way it's ever going to happen overnight, but the conversation must continue, and we must continue to work in our local markets, as I mentioned, with local authorities, local leaders, and go from there.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, our last question for Rick is going to come from Dwayne Price. I'm asking Dwayne to unmute himself. And then Donnie is on the line. And so after Rick has finished up this last question, then we'll get Donnie going. I'm sorry to those who didn't get to ask their questions of Rick, but like I said, there will be other opportunities. Dwayne, go ahead.
How you doing, Rick? How's it going today?
Hi, Dwayne. How are you?
Okay. From a personal and coaching standpoint, Rick, what's the biggest challenge that you face going into the restart of the season while we're in the middle of a pandemic? And also, do you believe with all the testing that's going on in Orlando that the bubble in Orlando may be one of the safest places in the entire United States?
Yeah, first of all, everyone's going to have challenges with this, whether they're logistical challenges or challenges due to certain limitations. For example, right now the workouts are still individual workouts. And so we've got to think this out very clearly as to, when July 10th or 11th hits, whatever day is your first day to practice, what do those practices look like? And, how do you how do you get into it? Do you jump into it hard, or do you ramp up a little bit? And so these are conversations that are wide ranging. You know, it's me talking to our training staff, you know, taking the temperature of those guys, talking to our players, how they feel, et cetera. In terms of the environment in Orlando, from everything that I understand, it should be one of the safest places to be in the United States. You know, even though the numbers in Florida have spiked, but the truth is the numbers all over the country have spiked. But this environment is going to be, you know, monitored very, very closely. And there are a lot of procedures and regulations, and, you know, we're going to follow them to a T, as are the other 21 teams. And, you know, we're looking forward to making the best of this. This is, I mean, imagine an NBA season where you don't have to travel. I mean, whoever heard of something like that? I mean, if you can't look at that as some kind of positive, I think there's something wrong. So, look, it's coming quick. A week from today, we leave. When we get down there, the training camp will go by quickly. You play 8 games in 2 weeks. I mean, that's going to fly by, and then boom, you know, we're going to be into the playoffs. So it's a very exciting time, and we're really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. And I look forward to seeing all you guys, hopefully in person at some point, not just on a Zoom call here.